Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to yet another kitten close-up. It is Friday the 25th, and we are here in the annex with a few kittens and a lot of news. So, our first news is I'm trying a different camera here, so I know we'll work things out. It seems like it's working fine so far. Knock on wood. Hope I didn't just jinx it by saying that. This is Check the Tail Chevron. This is Chevron, Chevy. And he is in the bumblebee bed, which is very cute. Sent to us by Pat. Thank you, Pat. And he's trying to hide from the camera already. That's very advanced kittening. So, the good news is I haven't fed these kids very much in the last, 24 hours. Maybe not at all. I'd have to check. Because they have been, they've reached the point now where they're biting through the tubes. And they bit through a tube, and I thought, all right, now I'm done. And then I thought they weren't gaining enough weight, so I decided to give it one more try. And they bit through the tube on the new tube on the very first use. So I'm like, all right, we're done. So so I think I'm done with the tube feeding. The good news then is that that was last night that I made that last attempt. And as of, just a few minutes ago, when I weighed them, they all had posted gains on their own. Good gains. So right now, I'm happy about that. And if they fail to post the proper gains over 24 hours, we'll feed them using some of the other methods like a syringe, that kind of a thing. So, they really should be ready to be weaned by now. And it's not unusual for kittens to lose a little bit of weight at weaning time because it is a bit of a transition. So we'll expect a little bit of that. Especially most of these kids are just super fat and happy right now, so they've got a little bit of weight they could lose. Like Becky says, adorably chubby. Yes, they are mostly very, very chubby right now. So we like that. So, so this is Chevy in the back now and Herringbone in front in the B. And something else that you will notice is that as of this morning, I took down the barrier. They have access now to the entire room. And I believe they're taking full advantage of that exploration. Now, ordinarily, I might leave the barrier around the beanbag chair so they don't try to go behind it, but I'm really pushing my luck here. And I just took down the whole thing. So we got the beanbag chair over here with the really cool sort of rainbow colored theme that we're working on for this class going on here. Rainbows and unicorns and stuff is what we're aiming for. And I love this blanket, and I especially love the pillow. I'll show it to you in a minute. I just put that stuff up. Thank you to whoever sent that stuff in for mailbag. Um, anyway, they're free to go wherever they want. They're, of course, mostly going to the places that they're familiar with, like the bumblebee, and there's Argyle in the old bed in the corner, which is fine too. That's nice. I saw somebody ask how old they are. They are 4 weeks old yesterday, so that's pretty cool. This is the one girl in the class. This is Paisley, and Paisley is a sweetheart, but she doesn't like me very much because I put her through so many tube feedings and then trying to get her to eat food and stuff, and she's just sick of it. She's had enough. At least according to her, she's had enough. But like I said, she's gained enough weight on her own overnight, so we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. See how long she can keep those gains going. Here's something else that you will probably have noticed is I'm wearing little foot protectors and some like pajama pants. These are actually over my jeans. See right there, my jeans, my regular jeans. And I'm wearing a funny shirt. Here, let me see. I want to play with this camera anyway, so let's do this. There we go. I'm just wearing a button down actually over my regular t-shirt that's all buttoned up. And the reason for all of that nonsense is Rotterdam. So we need to talk about Rotterdam, even though we're not going to get to see him on this close-up. I might, if I'm good, we're going to cut this close-up a little short, and I'll do another one later on with Rotterdam and the oranges, but I can't just go from one to the other right now. So, here's what's going on. I think in the last close-up, I mentioned Rotterdam to you, and I let you know that Rotterdam was drooling, and we noticed he's got some ulcers on his tongue, and I thought maybe he'd just bitten his tongue. Some wishful thinking. The vet thought something else. The vet thought calicivirus, or FCV, is it sometimes called? Depending on, I guess, if you're writing it out, FCV is easier, and if you're saying it, I think calici is easier. So we're going to call it calici here. But calicivirus is a very, very common cat infection, and it's probably no big deal. And I think a lot of you will remember, I say a lot of you, I don't know how many of you have been watching us the whole time, but famously Yale, the kitten Yale from our first year as Kitten Academy, had calicivirus. And we've probably seen it since then and maybe just not even recognized it because it wasn't a very severe case. So there's a whole bunch I need to tell you about the calici and what's going on with that. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk about here, but I'm going to cover it again with Rotterdam. So hopefully, I don't know, we'll figure it out. So here's what I think you need to know. First off, Rotterdam is beyond fine, except for the fact that his tongue is a little ulcerated. He is completely beyond fine. I mean, truly beyond fine. In fact, he doesn't understand why he's being isolated, which he is being isolated. And every time I leave the room, you'll just hear him yelling and yelling and yelling and yelling at the door. So that's a thing that you're going to hear a lot of whenever I'm not in the office with him. And he's staying in Custard's office, sort of by himself, but mostly with me. And he's been yelling his head off all morning, every minute that I'm not in there. So not only is he fine that way, but he's all purrs and snuggles, and he just wants to play. I keep getting out toys for him so he can play, and he just goes insane, flying around the room like a kitten. So he doesn't know that there's anything wrong with him at all. The only trick is that getting him to eat food has been a little tricky, and probably because his mouth doesn't feel great. So we've got him on a little bit of pain medication for that, and it's not enough to help him eat, though. So I've been feeding him some real high-value food, like the baby food that you guys know he likes. I've been mixing up the baby food with a little bit of like real high-calorie stuff, recovery food. And usually I put a little bit of that in his mouth with a syringe, and then he's really excited to eat the rest by himself. Or I just put it all in by syringe, and it works out. So I'm keeping him fed. He's gained more weight than he's ever gained. He's just fat, happy, active, purring, loving, snuggly, and I've also been sleeping in there with him every night. So as far as he goes, he is in great shape, except, of course, having a calicivirus infection. Presumably, I should say, and so let me explain that real quick. The vet thinks it's calicivirus, and in the last close-up, I was kind of skeptical of that, but I'm losing my skepticism. I think the vet probably knows exactly what she's talking about, and it probably is calicivirus. But the test for calicivirus is not great in general. There's a lot of false positives. There's a lot of false negatives. And for him, in particular, for Rotterdam, it would definitely be positive whether he has it or not. So because of the vaccines, which we'll get to in a second. So the test would show positive whether he's got it or not, which means the test is not going to help us out at all. So we can't really test for it to prove whether or not it's calicivirus. We just have to assume that it is. And that makes sense. It all makes sense. Then, like I was saying about the vaccines, so we vaccinate all of the kittens and all the faculty against calicivirus. It's one of the things, not every shelter, not every foster does it. Some do, some don't. We do. It's often referred to as the feline distemper virus, although it has nothing in common with distemper like you think of in dogs. That's just what they call it because, I don't know, people aren't very original. It's also known a little more formally as the FVRCP vaccine. It vaccinates against a whole bunch of different things, and the C and the FVRCP vaccine stands for calicivirus. So we vaccinate our kittens against calicivirus, and Rotterdam, in fact, had 2 out of 3 doses that the kittens get for the calicivirus. He would have had his 3rd dose on his neuter day, except that he was sick with calicivirus, so he didn't get the 3rd dose of the vaccine because the vet didn't want to stress his system. But just like we've all learned so much about vaccines in the last year or two here on Earth, you know that these things aren't 100% effective ever, and I don't know how he managed to catch calicivirus despite the fact that he's partially vaccinated, and despite the fact that you know, we haven't had anybody new in or anybody else that has had any sort of symptoms that we've noticed. It's a real mystery where it would have come from. My guess, my supposition, is that either Port or Loom has sort of a case in remission. So they're not showing any symptoms, Port and Loom, but one of them probably is a carrier and has had it and managed to shed just enough virus at just the wrong place. And Rot got unlucky and picked it up and started to show some symptoms. That's my guess. Of course, impossible to prove anything, but that's a theory that makes a lot of sense. So probably what happened. And the practical upshot of all of that vaccine talk, of course, is the Orange Boys are now fully vaccinated. Port is now fully vaccinated. The faculty is, you know, obviously fully vaccinated. But you can't start the vaccines. The first dose happens at 6 weeks. And these kids, like I just said, they're 4 weeks old, which means that these kids have not had even the first dose of the vaccine, which means they're especially susceptible to that virus. And it's pretty highly contagious. It spreads through things like getting your saliva or sneezing on somebody, or, you know, sometimes it causes real upper respiratory infection symptoms. It usually does, in fact, like sneezing, or in Roddy's case, he's drooling all the time. So any of that spittle, or, you know, any of that getting near these kittens could get them infected. It could get anybody infected. So that's all a very long-winded way of explaining when I go in to see him and when I come out, I always wash up. But I'm not taking a ton of precaution about the faculty and his brothers, just a little bit. I figure they've already been exposed. A little bit of caution is definitely worthwhile, so I do wash up, and I try to avoid, you know, anything that's too obvious, and he's isolated from them, and that's important. But I'm not going nuts about it, and that's okay. On the other hand, when I come in here, I am going nuts about it. I get fully scrubbed up, my face, my arms, my hands, lots of scrubbing. And then I put on a second layer of clothes that only come in here. And I take them off as soon as I leave, and I put them on before I come in. And that's the whole deal, trying to make sure that we try our best to keep that virus out of here, if it's not already in here. I mean, who knows? Could be. But we're working on it. So that's the deal. So that's why I'm wearing the funny pajama pants on the outside, and the funny shirts, and the funny footwear. And you're going to see that for a while. Oh, one last thing that you might want to know is DJ tells me that she looked it up online, and for the cats that have the ulcers as a symptom, like he does, it's usually 4 to 5 days that it takes to get all cleared up. So he's on day 3 now, maybe even day 4, so he's probably going to be close to getting over it before you know it, and before he knows it. And until then, you're going to hear a lot of yelling. I can hear him right now. You might be able to hear him if you're really a careful listener. He's yelling at the door right now for me to come let him out or hang out with him. So, like I said, we'll do a close-up with him later so you can just see how he is and how fine he is, because I want you all not just to hear me saying he's fine, I want you to see it. So, there you go. So that's all the news about why I'm dressed funny, and that's all the news about Rotterdam and how he's doing, and it's all the news I told you already about how these kittens are doing and the fact that they are all now eating and being fine. And this guy just walked through the food that I brought in, so he's all wet. This is Baskerville, by the way. Not Baskerville. No, I've been calling him Basker. It's Basket Weave is his name. Yes, Basket Weave. And then mom is Loom, of course, as you know. And this looks like Chevron. I still am checking the tails. No, that's Herringbone and Argyle. The black and white kitty is Argyle. And I told you already, these kids, I've stopped tube feeding them because they're biting through the tubes, and I don't want that to be a thing. So yeah, there's ways to avoid that, but it's just not worth the trouble. And since I stopped feeding them yesterday, they're doing fine. They gained plenty of weight, so we covered that. We covered the fact that the room is entirely accessible. I see somebody peed just outside the litter box. We're still working on those lessons. I can tell you that, hang on. I'm not going to show you the litter boxes. I just had to put Basker into one real quick, and I'm going to grab a paper towel and lay it on the pee over there, too. I can tell you, Argyle was the first one to figure out the kitten litter box and has been using it. This is Argyle, the black and white one here, has been using it every time he goes pee in the litter box. It's great. And Chevy also seems to have followed suit on that and has been peeing in the litter box a few times. Maybe every time, I'm not sure. I don't have any idea who it is that just missed the litter box over there, but somebody did. And that's okay. We're going to see a lot of that as they figure it out. I haven't seen any poop from these guys lately, so apparently mom's still taking care of all of that, but hopefully once we start to see them, we find them mostly in the litter box and not all over the room. Of course, I did tell them, if you remember, that they could get even with me for all the tube feedings by pooping all over the room, so if they remember that, maybe they'll take me up on that offer and we'll end up with poops everywhere. Who knows? This guy's belly is so messy. I want to clean it up. Let me do this. I'm going to put this right here. We're going to use the front camera. I know it's weird. Hi, everybody. And I'm going to clean up his belly a little bit with some wipes because he just walked through this food that I put down. I put down a little bit of KMR2 just because I had leftover KMR after we stopped the tube feedings. And I just put it in a little shallow saucer in case they liked it, because it's usually stuff that they really like a lot. In fact, KMR2 isn't made because they should like it so much it gets them to start eating. None of them are taking to it. They don't like it at all. So that's irony, I guess. So I see someone asking why the tube feedings. No, Loom does have plenty of milk, and I don't know why throughout most of the last 4 weeks the kittens haven't been able to get enough of it. And I do know I've had to sort of give her warm compresses and stuff to get it all flowing, but it's definitely a flow control issue, probably like the one on our network, and not a source issue. So I can tell you that much. Other than that, it's unsolved, but look, we're at the end now. You know, they're at the age now where they're weaning, they're ready to start eating real food, so we made it through. Whatever the case was, she's never going to have to nurse kittens again, so it's kind of academic, isn't it? I think so. Hey, buddy. Hi, do you see yourself there? Do you see the people talking about you on the chat? He's looking right at the screen. What are you going to do? Bunny suit for protection. You know, if I had a bunny suit, I totally would. The trouble with that, of course, is that it gets dirty, it goes right in the wash. I'm wearing stuff I can switch out pretty easily too, but the bunny suit would be pretty funny. Which reminds me, I have all kinds of other PPE. You know, I think we've got PPE pants and we've got the shirts, and DJ has a large collection of scrubs that I wouldn't fit into because they're for her. The reason I'm wearing pajamas and shirts is it's just easier for me. I get to wash them, and they look a little bit nicer, even though they look crazy. Oh, and let me say about the bunny suit before anybody gets the wise idea to send me one. If you do send me one, it's definitely gonna get here after this whole thing is over with. Because, like I said, I expect it to be cleared up by Monday for sure. So I would say don't do that. That's what I would say. Okay, I keep wiping this kid because it's just so fun to watch him looking at the camera and petting and wiping on him, but he's clean. I don't need to keep doing it that much. Now he's not only clean, he's wet with all the stuff that I've been wiping. Maybe we should get him a little towel and dry him off now. Look at that, buddy. You get the whole treatment right here. Okay, look, we've been 20 minutes, and I don't want to overwhelm everybody, so I want to do another close-up with our buddy and the oranges, with Rotterdam and the oranges, and I'll talk again about all the same stuff I just said. I'll say it again. So if you have questions, if you have comments I didn't notice, if there's anything you said in the chat that just, flew right by me, hang on to it. Say it again. Maybe I'll see it next time. Maybe I won't. I try to, but I don't see everything. It's difficult enough for me to try to talk about everything and at the same time handle the kittens and the camera angles, and I've only got one very tiny brain, and it doesn't work as well as it used to. So there we go. Okay. Anyway, yes, Basket is so mellow. He's also the #1 lap kitten. I think I mentioned that before. He always just comes right up to see me, and he wants to hang out my lap, and he would definitely take a nap in my lap right now if I let him. But I'm not going to let him. I'm going to get up and go change into my other clothes and go see our buddy Rotterdam and maybe get right to that second close-up right now and just knock it out. What do you think? Maybe we'll do that. I'm so happy that these boys and girls have been gaining weight without my help now. It's like we're finally over the hump-ish. Hopefully it stays that way. We'll see. Okay, wait, we got to do one more thing before we go. Oh, we got to see Argyle. Look at our little Argyle. Who are you? Yeah, look at that. You don't have to look at me. So that's better, isn't it, pal? Okay, little Argyle. I woke him up for this. He was taking a good old nap. All right, guys, I'll catch you in just a little bit for the next close-up, I guess. Probably right away, unless I get distracted, which I often do. We'll find out. Thanks for joining me for this one. I'll see you guys all soon, very soon, with the older kittens. Say goodbye, Argyle. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, Argyle is so resistant to everything. He and Princess Paisley are both like, I do not want you messing with me, buddy. I've had enough of your nonsense. There we go. He's letting me do it, though, a little bit. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Princess Paisley, by the way, over here all by herself in the giraffe.